Okay, well, good morning and welcome to Sunday morning meditation. I'm not usually here on Sundays. So, the first thing that we do when we sit down to meditate is to establish our motivation. So, whatever kind of morning we had, whatever kind of commute we had to get here, or to our computers if you're watching online, we're just going to leave all of that at the door and take a pause to center ourselves and our intention for our practice. So we'll start by generating compassion for all sentient beings and making the wish that our practice today will benefit them. So let's take a moment to do that now. And then we'll say the opening prayers. We'll say the 7-line prayer 3 times. Organ yogi num jansam pemage sardompola yatsen chogi ngorubne pemajune jesura Kordu kandro mangpokor ketki jesu dak druki jinji lop cheer shake su soul Guru Pema City Home Organ Yugi Num Jansam Pemage Sardompola Yatsen Chogi Ngorubne Pema Jungne Jesurak Kordu Kandro Mangpokor Ketki Jesu Dak Druki Jinji Lop Cheer Shake Su Soul Guru Pema City Home Organ Yuki Num Jansam Pemage Sardompola Yatsen Chogi Ngorubne Pema Jungne Jesurak Kordu Kandro Mangpokor Ketki Jesu Dak Druki Jinji Lop Cheer Shake Su Soul Guru Pema City Home. So the meditation that we'll be doing today is called Shamatha meditation or calm abiding meditation. And this is taught by Dutzma Akanlamo in her book, Stabilizing the Mind. This practice is common to all Buddhist traditions. In fact, the Buddha said that it was his favorite way to meditate, that it was his favorite practice. But you don't have to be Buddhist to practice it. So Dutzma has taught that meditation is the natural state of mind when it is relaxed, stable, and open. In this meditation, the calm abiding meditation, trains our mind to be calm and relaxed while also being alert and wakeful. And the point of this meditation is to create space in the mind. It is so important to create space in the mind because without that space, we find ourselves just really boxed in by our emotions and tossed in the waves of our emotions and crowded with thoughts and with just no space to move around them. So when we put some space into the mind, when we create some space in the mind, that helps us to balance our emotions. It helps us be able to see our emotions, have the distance to be able to see our emotions rise and fall instead of being so in it that we're just like consumed by overtaken by the tidal wave of them. We actually have some space to see the waves of emotion rise and fall, and to give us some time between whatever's going on in our lives and our reaction to that. And having some space in the mind is also the first step in the development of bodhicitta, which is the compassionate wish to free all sentient beings from suffering. So we'll take a comfortable seat. You can do this meditation sitting in a chair or sitting cross-legged on the floor. You can you just don't want to do it lying down because we're trying to be awake. We're not trying to get sleepy. We're trying to be awake. So however you're sitting, just check in with your posture. If you're sitting on the floor, you may need a cushion to tilt your pelvis so that you have a good, so you have a stable position for your back, or you might lean against a wall if that's comfortable for you. But it's important to have a straight spine. So you can imagine a thread going up your spine and out the top of your crown, and just pull that thread so your spine is nice and tall. And your shoulders are open, they're slightly back, and your elbows are out a bit. So there's room around your rib cage. You've got lots of room to breathe. And your hands are going to be resting in your lap. Traditionally, we hold one hand in the other hand with the thumbs touching and place our hands so the thumbs are right below your navel. But you can also just rest your palms on your thighs. And then your eyes will remain open, looking downwards. You can imagine a line following the bridge of your nose and extending down, down, down to the floor. And just find a point along this line where it's comfortable to rest your gaze. And then lastly, place the tip of your tongue right behind your front teeth. It's like saying the letter L. And allow yourself to relax completely and breathe normally. Just settle into your natural rhythm of breathing. Now that I've called attention to your breath, you might wonder if you've ever breathed before in your life. Just take deep breaths if you need to get into your natural rhythm. A good way to relax into it is to exhale really deeply. And then naturally, after emptying your lungs, you'll be able to take full breaths again. And just settle into your natural rhythm of breathing. And then put a very light attention on your breath. You don't try to control it at all. Just breathe naturally with the most gossamer thin attention on your breath. It's like taking your pulse. You don't try to control it in any way or try to change it. You're just observing it. Your attention is like a feather, gently riding on the surface of your breath. And during your meditation, thoughts will come up. That's normal. That's okay. You're not doing it wrong. When thoughts come up, just let them go like bubbles popping on the surface of a pond. Don't even look to see what they are. Just let them pop. Your meditation is not lost by hearing your thoughts, but by following them down the road. So as soon as you notice that you are following a thought, just drop it and come back to your breath. And if it's really difficult for you to dismiss your thoughts, you can imagine picking them up with spaghetti tongs and dropping them, or cutting them up with scissors and throwing them away. But you always just dismiss the thought and return to your single-pointed concentration, returning again and again to that gossamer thin attention on your breath. So for our first round of meditation, we'll go for 5 minutes, and then we'll pause and then meditate a little longer. All right, so that's our first round, our warm-up round, meditation. So when we're meditating, when we're first starting to meditate, you might spend the entire session just lost in your thoughts and might not remember to come back to the breath. And that's often where we're starting, because we're starting with just our normal habits of our mind, which is to be just following our thoughts. So that's normal when you first start to meditate. It's really difficult for you to remember your breath. But so the first thing you do is build up that awareness muscle, that muscle of paying attention and noticing. And that can be a pretty painful experience in that you see how distracted your mind is. That's the first time you're starting to become aware of the patterns of your mind and how distracted you are, and how how easily distracted you are by those thoughts. So if so I think this is kind of a point where, like, I feel like for some people, this is kind of the point where you start to realize that you have a problem, like that you start being able to see the problems in your mind because you're starting to build that awareness muscle. We usually move around our days just in such a, just running around like chickens with our heads cut off, and we don't even pay attention to what our current state is and what the state of our mind is and whether it's working for us or not. We just keep going, and maybe with some denial mixed in, and then when we start to pay attention, we start to see, wow, this isn't very easy, and um, I really have this habit of being distracted, and of self-centered thinking. And Jetsama has taught that, not to be discouraged when this happens. We can't just snap our fingers and become loving, focused practitioners overnight. That's not our habit. It takes a lot of practice to meditate. It takes a lot of practice to develop compassion or generosity, to be truly kind. It takes practice. And we have to be kind to ourselves, and we have to be patient with ourselves in that process as we build these new muscles. It takes time, and practicing means falling off the horse and getting back on again and again and again. So you have to be compassionate with yourself, because you will forget about your breath and you go, oh my gosh, I was supposed to be focusing on my breath. And then you come back and then you're off in another thought. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was supposed to be on the breath. What am I doing? But it's important to just dismiss the thought and return to your breath, and not add any stories, not add any self-judgment to it, not make it into more than it is. That's just more self-centered thinking. So whatever is distracting you, just cut it, just let it go, and you come back to the breath. And over time, you might find that first meditation, you can get distracted for minutes at a time before you remember to come back to your breath. And then they'll become a minute and a second, and it'll become shorter and shorter and shorter. You'll get better at noticing when you're distracted from your breath, and then until you're at the point where you barely get distracted from breath. Even just like the littlest whiff of distraction, you catch it and you come back to your breath. And so it's like noticing before even the thoughts really form, like you just right back to your breath. So it gets easier over time, and just have to be kind to ourselves and patient. And Jetsama says, the only conclusion that you should form, if you're having difficulty with this, the only conclusion you should form really is, that's my habit. I understand that about myself. I accept that I can change it. I accept the habit. I accept that I can change it little by little, and it's hard, and it's all right if it's hard. We just take it one day at a time. So we will meditate for a longer period of time now. Okay, so we'll do a 15-minute meditation. So coming back into our meditation posture, our straight back, hands relaxed in your lap. Eyes are open with finding a point, following the line of your nose and finding a point along that line where it's comfortable to rest your gaze. And the tip of your tongue is behind your front teeth, like saying the letter L. And relax into your natural rhythm of breathing. And put the most gossamer thin attention on your breath. Your attention is like a feather, gently riding on the surface of your breath. Hello. Hi. Um, as we meditate for longer periods of time, sometimes it can be more difficult to stay awake. So if you are, especially we have it nice and relaxing in here, the lights off, it's very, very relaxing. So if when you're meditating, you find it difficult to stay awake, one thing you can do is raise your gaze a little bit. So wherever that point is that you're resting your eyes, you can just raise that point a little bit so your eyes are more open. Or alternatively, if your mind's too busy, and you've got too much energy, too much mental energy, you can do the opposite and you can lower your gaze so that your eyes are a little bit more closed. And that's a good way to kind of help moderate uh, your energy levels. All right, so we're going to just end with one more little 3-minute meditation. All right, so back into our meditation posture. And our attention is resting like a feather on the surface of our breath. Okay, so now we'll close with the dedication prayers. Would you like a copy of these prayers? Okay. Just pull them up online. Throughout my many lives and until this moment, whatever virtue I have accomplished, including the merit generated by this practice, and all that I will ever attain, this I offer for the welfare of sentient beings. May sickness, war, famine, and suffering be decreased for every being, while their wisdom and compassion increase in this and every future life. May I clearly perceive all experiences to be as insubstantial as the dream fabric of the night, and instantly awaken to perceive the pure wisdom display in the arising of every phenomenon. May I quickly attain enlightenment in order to work ceaselessly for the liberation of all sentient beings. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas altogether, whatever kind of motivation you have, whatever kind of beneficial action, whatever kind of wishing prayers, whatever kind of omniscience, whatever kind of life accomplishment, whatever kind of benevolent power, and whatever kind of immense wisdom you have, similarly I, who have come in the same way to benefit beings, pray to attain these qualities. By this effort, may all sentient beings be free of suffering. May their minds be filled with the nectar of virtue. In this way, may all causes resulting in suffering be extinguished, and only the light of compassion shine throughout all realms. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for being here.